Welcome to Sick Flicks, where we take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to examine the goriest and most disturbing movies of all time. I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and today we're looking at Jason Howden's hilariously gory horror comedy, Deathgasm. Released in 2015, this New Zealand export follows in the footsteps of Peter Jackson's splattery early work. You know, like Bad Taste and Dead Alive. All the cool stuff before he became obsessed with hobbits. It's one part Evil Dead, one part Lamberto Bava's Demons, and one part every cautionary tale you ever heard about the satanic dangers of heavy metal music from some try-hard youth pastor when you were in high school. Mix that all together with some copious splatter, and you get an instant cult classic. And speaking of splatter, just how gory is Deathgasm? We'll find out when we score it on the Gore Card later, but for now, let's break down the plot. The film opens with what may be the coolest opening credit sequence since Night of the Demons. I mean, look at this shit. It's like every metalhead I went to high school with's notebook come to life. This is Brodie. He gets sent to live in the middle of nowhere with his uncle's family after his mother gets institutionalized for, well, maybe you can just discover that on your own. Needless to say, his new family is balls deep into the Jesus lifestyle, which doesn't really mesh with Brodie's love of black metal. From here, we meet Dion, who's a pro at blowing natural 20s right out of his nose, apparently, but he's gonna have to roll big on charisma here to avoid having the wand of never getting laid +1 shoved up his ass by the jocks. While they debate the semantics of D&D dice, we get our first look at Medina, aka New Zealand Britney Spears.
Medina Darcy.
#1 cause of awkward boners in Grey Point.
With that out of the way, we meet Giles. He's the kind of dude who casts Fireball at a fire elemental. Enough said. He also doesn't inspire boners. The session comes to an end with this exciting golden shower. For real, these guys just doused them with super soakers full of piss. Again.
Good work, Brodie. Nice technique. Great shading on the demon penises.
Well, I didn't want to brag, but I'm kinda like the Michelangelo of satanic dick doodles. After another rough day at school, Brodie stops by the local record shop and meets a fellow metalhead. They perform the elaborate mating ritual of all black metal nerds everywhere, pulling out records and giving sidelong glances of approval. With everything looking good, we learn that the young Brandon Lee wannabe is Zakk. Brodie and Zakk are fast friends, and Zakk's the anarchist of the duo. What? Gore and this movie teaches you how to make napalm? This might be the greatest piece of cinema ever created. Naturally, after burning Hail Satin into the lawn of a good God-fearing Christian, the only thing left to do is start a band. I bet they play a lot of new country. Of course, they need a name.
What are we called? Murder boner?
Toothed vagina. Oh, maggot spoon.
And these names are all pretty great, but I'm sort of stunned no one suggested Nunslaughter. Maybe it was already taken. After much debate, they finally settle on Deathgasm. Man, they sound fantastic, like the death metal version of the Portsmouth Symphonia. After practice, Zakk and Brodie head to this dumpy house. This is the beauty of being a death metal fan or a goth. You're always dressed for an impromptu B&E if the need should arise. Zakk heads in, leaving Brodie to creep around in the dark house where he wanders right into a jump scare. Turns out this house might be the hideout of the lead singer of Sword, a metal band known for their over-the-top stage show and devil worship. You probably heard them at your prom. In the back, they find Iggy Pop asleep. Wait, that's the lead singer of Sword. He's clutching a copy of their ultra-rare album, which Zakk decides he must steal. Iggy doesn't take kindly to these two miscreants stealing his copy of the album and threatens them with a bat. He's convinced they're occultists, but the real occultists are on the way. Shit, is that Dario Argento? He's got the black gloves and the razor. With the man in black closing in, Iggy Pop entrusts the album to Zakk and Brodie, telling them they have to guard it with their lives. Well, I mean, I know there were only 666 copies pressed, and it's pretty rare, but I don't know if I'd die for it. Iggy and the man in black square off, and Iggy gets popped. That's gonna leave a mark. Then he gets a shave, and I think we can basically see why this guy bombed out at barber college. Back at the garage, Zakk and Brodie realize they've been given a Rick Astley record.
It's a fucking Rick Astley record!
Yeah, we've all been rickrolled at least once, fellas. Welcome to the club. It's not all a loss, though. There's some sheet music inside, too. I bet if you play it, it's a metal version of Never Gonna Give You Up. Some dudes just don't know when to let a joke die. Naturally, they decide that they should learn this sheet music and turn it into a Deathgasm song.
We should learn this, turn it into a Deathgasm song. It'll be fucking brutal!
I mean, what could go wrong? Besides bringing about the end of the world. Oh look, Chekhov's chainsaw makes an appearance. Wonder if we'll see that later. Then, over in our other movie, the man in black reports in to his boss, who has an entirely white office for some reason. These guys aren't big on the rest of the color wheel, obviously. This stop at the Office of Exposition reveals that the men in black are looking for something called the Black Hymn. And if you guess that's the music Brodie and Zakk found on those old papers, well, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. The boss here isn't pleased about the man in black's failure to procure the Black Hymn, so these two ISIS wannabes come out and decapitate him. He'll never be the head of the coven now. The boss is also not pleased that they ruined his sweet-ass rug, so he makes them do it again? Second go-round is more of a piece of performance art, though, not quite as impressive. Points for trying, at least.
That's good. Yeah, I think they worked.
Back in Grey Point, Brodie and the gang are shooting their very own death metal video. Look how adorable they are in their corpse paint. First it's corpse paint and music videos in the woods, next it's burning down churches. They grow up so fast. After that, Brodie bumps into New Zealand Britney Spears, Medina, and it goes about as awkwardly as you'd expect.
Could I please have my tampon?
She does ask him to go for ice cream, which is obviously the most metal thing ever. Do you think she'll still find him attractive without his white kabuki makeup and the inverted crucifix on his forehead? Brodie's not good at reading the signs, which is why he's destined to be forever alone. His bullying cousin, however, is great at reading them, even from a distance. Guessing this is bad news for Brodie. Back in the garage, Deathgasm starts playing the song from the sheet music they got from Hacks and Swords' lead singer. If you guessed this music was going to summon the devil, you're half right. It doesn't call forth Satan, but it does summon Brodie's religious uncle, who doesn't appreciate black metal. Brodie just cranks up his amp. What, there's no 11 setting on this thing? Feels like a fail. And the band plays on. Man, this new Taylor Swift cover is really having a weird effect on people. I can relate. Listening to Lady Gaga makes me bleed out of my eyes, and other orifices, too. Band practice breaks up, and Brodie asks Zakk if he's ever had anxiety.
Although this one time, this chick grabbed my nuts too hard, and my splooge came out red.
Well, yeah, there's that. Meanwhile, Medina here has clearly traveled back in time. Who the hell still has a Discman in this day and age? I hope she finds the DeLorean and makes it back to the modern day before the movie ends. She's clearly developed a newfound interest in metal, though. Wow, this new Britney Spears video is a real change of pace. Back in class, Brodie's translating Latin on his sheet music. Daemonia stands for demon. Who could have guessed? With his handy Latin-English dictionary, he translates the verse. A black hymn to summon the king of demons for money and power. Well, sure, why not? After class, Brodie gets a beatdown from his cousin. Maybe that deal with the king of demons wouldn't be such a bad thing. Brodie does the walk of shame after getting his ass kicked. Yeah, man, but you should have seen the other guys. They look great, aside from being winded from stomping the shit out of me, I mean. Medina sets up a meeting at the park with Brodie, but Zakk never delivers the note and shows up instead. Whatever happened to bros before garden implements? The next day, they play the Black Hymn at band practice again, and dear old Uncle Albert has a pretty strong reaction to it. Slayer had raining blood. Deathgasm has puking blood. Same, right? As the song continues, more weird shit happens. Like it looks like they wound up in a garage band version of Soundgarden's Black Hole Sun music video. Next thing you know, the gutters are running red with rivers of puked blood. Oh yeah, we're finally getting to the gore. We cut to the band, who are passed out as though they've been partying like rock stars. Brodie freaks because he's convinced the ritual didn't work. Hey man, it's the Black Hymn. Maybe you were supposed to play it backwards. The next day at school, Brodie gets a visit from a demonic Elton John in the men's room. He's all like, the Black One's coming. He's gonna snuff you out like a candle in the wind. Then he comes back to tell him he's gonna roast his chestnuts over an open fire. I had no idea Elton did Christmas carols. Back in math class, the instructor seems to have come down with a case of explosive salmonella. Someone get that dude some Depends. Sorry, I had lunch in the cafeteria today and now I can't keep anything down. It's coming out of both ends. Zakk and Brodie then have a chat about how the whole town seems to be going crazy.
Feels like everybody in my neighborhood has gone insane.
This town's always been fucking crazy.
Zakk's dad is over there beating his head against the wall, probably because he realizes Zakk's the kind of loser who'd steal his best friend's love interest. And then he reveals he's ripped out his own eyes. Yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming. Dad's all set to give Zakk some good old-fashioned fatherly discipline, but Brodie intervenes with a power grinder. After a deep facial cleaning, which will really help open up your pores, they drop an engine on his head. Good thing this is New Zealand, because otherwise they'd be looking at paying workman's comp and dealing with some OSHA violations.
I think you would have wanted to go out like this.
His eyes ripped out, face grinded off, and then head mounted under a car engine.
Totally.
Well, you gotta admit, it's certainly an unforgettable way to go. Giles and Dion encounter the newly possessed, and take them on with a pair of Hulk gloves and a paintball gun. Yeah, might as well just have armed yourselves with a spoon and a cap gun, guys. Man, even getting shot in the head at point-blank range with 2 D20s aren't slowing these guys down. We may be screwed. Things look bleak, but then Medina shows up and tells the demon dude it's time to split. Convinced that the demon ritual has actually worked, Zakk and Brodie head to the record store psychic Abigail for advice. They're too late for Abigail, who suffered what looks like mortal injuries. Don't worry though, she's going to use her last words to deliver some exposition.
When's the devil's hour?
3 a.m.
Wait. 3 a.m. Pacific or Eastern Time? Do demons recognize daylight savings?
These are definitely valid questions. Abigail's about to tell them how they can undo this demonic apocalypse they've unleashed, but she spills her guts, literally, before she can give up the details. Hey, remember the occultists who were looking for the Black Hymn? They're here in town now too. Elton John Demon shows up to provide more exposition. Aloth needs the hymn destroyed so it can't be used to stop his ascension. Don't look now, but the head occultist gets stabbed in the back by one of his followers. Literally. Everyone wants to be Aloth's physical vessel, it seems. Brodie has an idea to reverse the outbreak, but Zakk, who's kind of a brooding asshole version of Heath Ledger, just wants to watch the world burn.
This town is shit. We're going up to the lookout, rolling a 3 Skinner, drinking some Slayer, and watching this town burn to the fucking ground!
With their spat over, Brodie and Zakk head to Brodie's house and find this corpse on the lawn. Kinda looks like the Bradster from Night of the Creeps. They enter the house and walk right into a jump scare. Zakk takes time to finish his beer. Careful, man, there's a beverage here. Then they lock themselves in a bedroom. They come out swinging with the only thing handy, a giant double-headed dildo and some anal beads. They're gonna cock this whole thing up. Literally. Hey, remember Chekhov's chainsaw in the garage in the movie's first act? Yeah, it's back. Brodie channels his inner Leatherface, but watch out for that throw rug. It's a real trip. He recovers, but he's also getting his ass kicked by a girl demon. He's about to get up close and personal with that chainsaw. The tables turn and he gives her a chainsaw C-section. Aw, look at those guts. They're adorable. Look just like their mom. She's not done though, and he finishes her off with a couple of vibrators. No, not like that, you pervs, by sticking them through her head. Also, we might have to reclassify these sex toys as sex weapons. Brodie's cousin then shows up, and I don't think he's a demon, but he's definitely half a head shorter than he used to be. With the pages blown away like dust in the wind, Brodie and Zakk have to track them down. But first, they need improvised weapons, and we need a montage. There's lots of good gore here, including yet another penis amputation. Look, I don't know why this keeps happening. I swear, I'm not doing it on purpose. The search eventually leads them to the school, where they reunite with Medina, Dion, and Giles. While having a quiet moment, Brodie notices that Medina has Zakk's jacket in her bag. Man, this may not be the best time for relationship drama. So much for the Brotherhood of Steel. And with that, Zakk's all like, screw you guys, I'm out. With Zakk gone, it's time for more exposition. They need to play the Black Hymn backwards, but they need amps to do it. Who might have amps? Oh, how about the lead singer of Haxen's Sword? Too bad the occultists are already there. Yeah, they're still in this movie. Barely. Brodie winds up handing over the sheet music, and Morticia Addams here shreds it like it was a Dimebag Darrell guitar solo. Things look bad. The occultists are performing their ritual, and Brodie and the gang are a little too tied up to stop them. Of course, as I always say, things can get worse. And they do, when the lead singer of Haxen's Sword rises from his tomb in demonic form. He's about to perform his cover of Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast for a captive audience. Dion looks like he's about to have sexy skull time, but then Zakk bursts in wearing his full black metal outfit and turns the demon's head into cherry pie. Was that what that Warrant song was about? I could have sworn it was something else. After a moment to talk about feelings, we get back to killing cultists. I don't know if a chainsaw rectal exam is covered by your insurance, but it's the only way to get a good look at your prostate. Dion gets separated from the group and wanders right into this demon. Look, there's no save and throw that's going to reattach his head and spinal column. Fatality. Sub-Zero approves. Giles is the next to go, and it's his own fault for going into battle unarmed. With the clock ticking and the demons approaching, Brodie has to play the black hymn from memory, and in a hurry. Medina and Zakk slay demons while Brodie plunks away on his electric guitar, but so far, it's not working. But as the clock strikes 3, the sky opens up with a blinding white light. Is that God, or just the eye of a typhoon passing overhead? Probably on its way to Alabama. No, it's actually the demon Aloth, who enters Morticia Adams, but then she gets stabbed with a sword and then the demon winds up in Zakk. Zakk/Aloth says he's going solo and then impales Brodie on one of his horns. I didn't think metal bands cared for horns, but clearly Zakk does. Brodie weakens the demon with a bitchin' guitar solo, but this only buys them time. He has to send Aloth back to hell by killing Zakk. This shave's gonna be a little close. 2 months later, Brodie and Medina are happy, the world's gone back to normal, and everything's looking great. Except now he's getting demonic messages through his records.
Nah, just kidding, dude.
Zakk?
Oh wait, it's just Zakk from hell. What a kidder. And cue credits. And that, my fellow gorehounds, is Deathgasm. Director Jason Howden's debut feature is one of the best horror comedies of this decade. A wildly entertaining splatterfest filled with great special effects and plenty of one-liners. Howden spoke about a sequel back in 2015, stating the new film would be called Deathgasm 2 Goremageddon. God, I love that title. He also assured fans that there was more gore in the first 10 minutes of the sequel than the entire original film. Then we heard nothing. Until May of 2019, when Grimfest Films announced they were involved. Fingers crossed this actually comes together. But let's not worry about blood that's not yet been spilled. Does Deathgasm deliver when it comes to gore? Let's score it on the Gore Card and find out. In terms of gross anatomy, Deathgasm provides all the splattery excesses of a good Gwar concert. I can't even begin to catalog all the bodily dismemberment on display here. With that being said, here are the high points. There's copious amounts of barfed blood, a chainsaw to the head, multiple decapitations, the weed whacker castration, and the chainsaw rectal exam. You want blood and guts with your metal? Deathgasm has you covered. But the gore is not just abundant, it's really good too. While many movies made in the past decade have shifted to CGI effects work, Deathgasm goes the old school route with plenty of practical gore gags. That makes my black heart sing. And because of that, I'm giving Deathgasm 4 barf bags out of 5. Honestly, this is as close as you can get to being a 5 barf bag film without actually hitting the goal. It's bloody, it's hilarious, and you're gonna have a good time with it. Have you seen Deathgasm? If so, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. And while you're down there, why not like this video and subscribe to the channel? I'm starting a band that's gonna do black metal covers of Beyonce songs, and I need some members. We may raise some hell along the way, and you wouldn't want to miss that, would you? Of course you wouldn't. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. You'll find links to more sick flicks here on the screen. I'll see you over there. Don't leave me hanging. Brotherhood of Steel for life. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.